Let's head to Akure now, the Ondo State capital, as we gear up for the gubernatorial election in the state. Numerous issues and development are actually coming up to the fore, and this is shaping the political landscape and influencing voter sentiment. Now, today we explore these matters in depth, discussing the key factors that play their potential impact on the state's future. Now, joining us virtually from Akure, Ondo State, is Eni Akinshola. He's a media professional, writer, and a perception manager who now serves as the lead publicist at Agogo Publishers Limited. Eni Akinshola has extensive experience in Ondo State politics, having served as the chief press secretary to the Ondo State governor and as a senatorial aspirant. Good morning, Mr. Eni, and good to have you join us on the show.
It's a very pleasant morning. Thanks for having me on the show. Thank you.
All right, now walk us through. We are very sure, just like Edo State, that is not too far from Ondo, the political landscape in Ondo State is also expanding as intrigue leading towards the election is gearing up. What are your perceptions and what are your views ahead of the elections?
Well, for me, I think we're going to have a free, I don't want to talk about fairness now. It's going to be inclusive to the extent that the majority of the people of the states will participate, not to the extent of gender inclusivity. It's going to be engaging because there are fundamental issues to be addressed. It's going to be interesting because we have an array of candidates from a 70-something-year-old man to a 33-year-old person. And it's going to be interesting. That's what I can say. Ondo State is going to have an interesting thing. Will it be intellectually stimulating? I don't know for sure. Will it be politically engaging? Yes. Will it be inclusive to the extent of getting more people to participate? I think so. But that is my immediate overview of what we have. But let us first understand the fact that campaign started in earnest on the 19th day of June, after party primaries have been held. We had issues with the major party, and some people protesting, but that's normal in any political setting. In other parties, it was easy. People say easy, and it went smoothly, though there were people who had grudges, but it was muted. We have had movements there and there. Somebody had moved from ruling party APC to go to another party to try his luck as a candidate. We also had, somebody has also moved from PDP to go to another party to serve as candidates. And somebody also said that there's a possibility of a movement. I don't know how feasible that is within the time frame of one or two people. I know there are defections here and there, some media defections, some real defections, but it promises to be interesting. We still have a long way to go. November is when elections will hold, and then we wait and watch.
Primaries. It was a kind of a little difficult battle for the incumbent governor, talking about Lucky Aiyedatiwa, as he had it a little bit tough. Some persons actually said that it took the intervention of the presidency to come to his aid for him to actually get the ticket of the party. Looking at the scorecard of the current administration, what is the fate of the party in the state, and looking at the heavyweights that are in the polls, how is it going to be for the incumbent government?
It's going to be competitive. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But if we consider politics as being played in this part of the world, as it is, it may also become an easy ride for the incumbents. And I say this without being modest or without being cognizant of the fact that there are other parties participating. If it is business as usual, I mean, INEC will just come, put on a semblance of a performance, and they announce a candidate, and that will be it. That is not removing the fact that the incumbent stands a chance and a free and fair tough. It's also not removing the fact that among the aspirants, that people could put up a great effort to contest for power. The issues that have been dealt with almost substantially is the issue of zoning. The clamor, what would have made the election much more contentious would have been the fact that we had serious contenders, and I use this word advisedly, from other zones. But it seems we all have almost settled for the next governor to come from the Southern Central District. This has narrowed the competitiveness in a way. It has also, in a way, deepened the competitiveness. There are one or two people from other central districts. What they believe on the street, in the political circles, is that it is all but settled that the next governor will come from the Southern Central District. So by that, not that the incumbent stands a chance, but that is not to say that others do not stand a chance. In our terrain, in our firmament in Nigeria, the incumbent is always ahead by a notch. So it will take some creative thinking, massive mobilization, media maneuverings, some honesty, some trickery for any of the other candidates to overtake and defeat the incumbent governor.
There are fears now ahead of the elections, and this is actually coming from other camps ahead of the election, and they are saying the incumbent governor is of the All Progressive Congress, which is the state's ruling party. And at the federal level, they are also at the center as far as the aims of affairs in the country is concerned. So power of incumbency and federal might is the fear of some other participant as far as the election is concerned. And they are saying, could it be that the incumbent governor is going to bank on the wings and the strength of the federal government to get a swift win in this election? Do you think that is true, or they are just actually being skeptical for nothing?
Hello?
We can hear you if you're there.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Anyway, trying to reconnect with you. It seems something went wrong, but okay, you're back now if you can hear us. If you got the question.
I can hear you now.
Please go ahead and respond.
I didn't get the question though.
Okay, now, ahead of the polls, some other participants, other political parties, they're actually expressing fear that the incumbent governor, who is actually in charge of the state, is going to use what they call state power. And considering the fact that he's going to be enjoying the backing of the federal government at the federal level, do you think all these speculations are just negative speculations that doesn't hold water?
They are funded. They are not unfunded speculations. They could also be defeatist. And why do I say they are funded? They are just speculations. In every society, I said earlier, the incumbent stands a chance, a better chance. And when the incumbent also has the backing of the federal government, that is, they're in the same party, the logistics of government are likely going to be put more at their disposal than others. This is the reality of our politics in Nigeria. But it's defeatist. If you say all you'll be doing is crying foul, then you should be prepared. From day one, you all knew that there is an incumbent who is of the ruling party. You knew that more often than not, the power of incumbency is always skewed in favor of the ruling party. You also knew that resources will be higher. So that means you must have prepared sufficiently. You must have prepared well enough to weather the storm. And it has been done before in this state. So it is nothing new. It is what must be prepared for by those in opposition, either collectively or individually. My thought before now was that we're going to have a less elaborate field. This we're not going to have as many as 17 people aspiring, particularly from most of them from the same central district. It waters down the strength of their base. If we have 17 people or about at least 14 people sharing the same base, so it leaves room for an outsider to poach. But like I said, it is not unfounded. These are genuine concerns, but they should not be the reason for the activities of the opposition parties. It should even rather be a fillip, to be an impetus for them to do better, to plan earlier, to start earlier, to deconstruct the myth around federal might, to deconstruct the myth around incumbency, and touch base with the people who are the real voters, to touch base with the elite, touch base with the hole, touch base with the artisans, touch base with the people who will vote on that day. Because no matter how well your capacity to rig, if the people truly want change and you provide the right platform with the right structure to transform their dreams into reality, you're likely going to win. What do I mean? For a serious party, you get the structures intact, you get your agents intact, you get your canvassers intact, you get your supervisors intact. You create a seamless relationship between every layer so that monitoring will be right from the polling units down to the final collation center. You make sure that figures are not lost, documents are not lost, everything is well documented. So whoever is going to steal your vote knows that he's in for a big task. So he's likely going to work at that to beat you fair and square. But if he knows that you're not serious, that all you do is make noise on pages of newspapers or on television, he's just going to undo you at the final minute, and you won't even have enough evidence to prove that you have been undone.
But if you're having an incumbent governor, who, from your analysis or from your insight to the question, won't the power of incumbency lead to using a government fund to actually campaign or proceed for personal gains? Won't that lead to that?
Personal gains of the governor, yes, that the possibility is there. The possibility is there that government funds will be used in this election. You can't rule that one out. I mean, there are some things that we say about our climb as if they are totally new. In other climes, once you're an incumbent, there are some advantages that you enjoy. No matter how the society is strict about those, you enjoy. A sitting president, for instance, will have the perks of office until the very last day. That will not be the same thing for a man who is aspiring to remove him. The sitting government has the benefit of written security report every blessed day. The opposition does not have that. A sitting governor wakes up, he gets the security report of all that is happening around the state every blessed morning. Yes, you could get briefed as an opposition candidate, but you won't have the details. So that's an advantage on its own. If you know what is happening in each of the two local governments, you know who to speak to, who can foment trouble on your behalf, who can help you quell trouble on your behalf. These are things you will use to your advantage. So it will always happen. But you see, once the opposition knows that these are realities of life that we have to deal with in our climb, then you prepare well. It's like the saying in the past that if you're an African boxer, a black boxer, you need to beat your opponent to the pulp before you can win. That is how it is. You must work harder, 10 times harder or more, be more vigilant, be more alert, be more mobile on your feet if you really want to defeat an incumbent. So my suggestion is not to cry about what is or what is not, is to work about what is and what is not.
So
And
walk
like
us through,
I
what is the
said,
current security situation in the state now? What is the current security situation ahead of the election?
I must say this. I will not say it's relatively cool. Yes, we have pockets of issues that are not related to elections, and I might say this for sense of responsibility. We still have kidnappings going on in some zones of the state, some parts of the state, and it has been on for some time. Yes, figures have reduced, but it's still happening. We still have normal crimes, but there are no security issues connected to this election yet. We are still far from November, I must say. So we still have a cool, calm environment, and we pray that it remains so. But we know that the frenziism that is expected will move in at some point, and with young people doing a lot of things, you have breaches here and there. And that is where the federal government and the state police and indeed all the security agencies will have to up their ante. You never can know who will be at the losing end of any breach of security. So what to do is to prevent the breach so that if you are stuck in it, or your child or your ward is stuck in it, you won't have to regret. We are all involved. Whatever is happening out there can happen to anyone. And you see, more often than not, the saying is that you can know, everybody knows the beginning of a security issue, but nobody can foretell what the end is. So we are cool and calm for now, and we pray it goes on till election and after election.
All right, let's quickly get Tolu Lokpe join the conversation now from Abuja Network Studio. Tolu Lokpe.
I take a critical look at the kind of candidates that we have running for gubernatorial positions in Ondo State. Way back in the 80s and also in the 90s, we used to have candidates who are connected to the community, who are connected to the grassroots. When we look at the quality of candidates that we have right now, most times we get to see candidates who are not even based in the state running for office. As a major stakeholder, are you not perturbed about this kind of current trend that we have candidates who come from abroad or probably live outside the state running for gubernatorial position or political offices in Ondo State? Are you not perturbed about that?
Thank you. For now, in Ondo State, most of the players are home-based, indigenous of the state. Most of them are residents. Most of them have been playing politics around here. Most of them have affected politics in their locality here and there. So we do not have that problem here. But even at that, once you are a citizen and you do your obligation to the state, it's not illegal for you to aspire. What not staying around will do to you will be that it will put you at a disadvantage in terms of resonating with the voting populace. But I can say that with respect to Ondo now,
Still remain with
most of the contenders are home-based. They have participated in politics, save a few at some level. Some have aspired. We have two former deputy governors, for instance. We have somebody who have contested about 3, 4, 5 times in the past. We have just a few who are rookies, and you can't rule that one out. But mostly, it's about participating in politics. They are. But it could be a difference if you talk about pedigree, competence, capacity, and that's not what I've asked about. It's about where they stay, and I say most of them reside in the state. Most of them are from this. All of them are from Ondo State. Most of them reside in the state. Most of them have a history of participation here and there, and that's, I believe, says something concerning your question.
One of the states that has high rate of university graduates and so many things like that. But when we're talking about the capability to deliver, what does an average Ondo person want? Because in the past we talked about providing water, education, making education affordable. But the world is evolving. The youth want something more than that. When we look at the quality of candidates that we have right now, what does an average Ondo man want right now with the current trend of things happening across the world?
The basics, honestly, you will not believe it. The average Ondo man still wants the basics. What do I mean by the basics? They want electricity supply. That is not rocket science. The average Ondo man does his things his own way. He's a farmer, a hardworking person. He wants roads that links him from the farm to the city center. The young ones, the youth who have had good education, however, apart from this, also want the space to operate. They don't want to be harassed on the road because they wear dress. I am not a pro excessive usage of dresses by young people, but nobody should be harassed on account of how you dress, on account of where you live or the car you ride. They want the freedom to do things that are legitimate. Some want to abuse it, but you cannot, because there are few of these youth who want to abuse the privileges of society by doing Yahoo. Now stigmatize a whole generation, pick them at will, embarrass them, defile them, and expect that society will grow. So what people need is, one, a secure, safe environment for to thrive, electricity. In fact, everybody is becoming his own waterworks these days. So if you talk about water, who will just look at you? Everybody provides their water. We have degenerated to that level. Few people are talking about public water supply. They want electricity. It's important. The older people want to send their schools to good schools without paying through their blood. They want good health facilities, which we have enjoyed here before. They want basic things like committing their children to and from school in a safe vehicle, in safe vehicles, not on Okada where they are in danger to everyday fatalities, leg-breaking accidents. The people want their women to go to hospitals, go through the birthing process free, fair, or at cost that will not make them to go bankrupt. People want to send their children to universities without having to take LAPO loan or all those kind of things. Those are the basic things that people want. People want openness in government. What are we doing? What are we earning? The state gets about 10 billion naira from the presidential account in the last 2-3 months since post-accession. People want, what are they doing with it? Apart from paying salary, how much is left? What are you employing or deploying these resources to? Those are the things that our people want. And people they're not asking for any esoteric things. They want the basic, because on their own, they have survived. They have the capacity to survive. As farmers, they need inputs at subsidized rates. And if those inputs do not come, they get their inputs, but they need the markets to be secured. They need their farms to be secured. They don't want to go to farm, plant all through the season, and when it is time to harvest, they meet people on their farms with cattle eating up their products. They do not want that. So those are the things that our people want, and not a trip to planet Mars, the basics.
Now,
But we also know that they're also part of the Nigeria Delta state who get 40% derivation from federal government. And you talk about accountability and the need for people to know how much comes into the covers of government. Do you think also that the successive government have been able to provide an enabling environment for businesses to thrive in Ondo State? Look at it, despite the fact that it is an agrarian society. Do you think the enabling environment is there for businesses to thrive?
About being an agrarian society, the business of agriculture would thrive. It could have a lot of incentives from government to make it thrive better. And I've mentioned some: seed provision, security of the farmlands, and open market access to farms, and what have you. As per industry, the most basic thing in industry is electricity, power generation. Once that is out, once government cannot provide that, the concept of industrialization in the true sense cannot really be actualized. It's going to be difficult. With the cost of fuel, of diesel, and everything going to high heavens, no business concern will be able to run without having to force the people to pay through their blood. So industrialization is a function of the advent of the conditions that must be there for industries to sprout. We have not been so successful in Ondo State like every other part of the country because we have this rickety, inconsistent power supply regime. But you see, there have been attempts in the past. There was a tri-fuel initiative to get 30 megawatts sometimes ago. I don't know what happened to it, but it was at an advanced stage by an earlier governor, but the next governor did not do it. I don't know what he has done about it, so to be open for discussion. There have been efforts, but I say fundamental to industrialization, power generation. If we have good power generation and networks are good, the people in the southern part of Ondo states, about 5 out of the 6 states, 6 local governments have not had power for almost 13 years, and they have thrived. But you see, they have been thriving at subsistence level. I am from there. I have a small place there, and I see each time I go home, my neighbor running generator 2-3 hours per day. These are people who depend all their life on farming. And I ask myself, where do they get the money from? But they have to do it because this is a basic thing. What they make from the farm is plow back into getting electricity for subsistence living alone, not to even generate resources. That is our plight. It is the plight of most of Nigerians, but that plight could have been mitigated if we have governance that will focus on power and power and power. I can excuse past governments, and I say this because the law governing power generation and distribution before did not allow for private participation, and even at some point in time, government state participation. Now we have a more liberal environment, and we are having changes here and there. We hope that such changes will transform to progressive development very soon.
Now, let's quickly get it straight now. We'll return back to Tolu in a moment. But however, Mr. Eni, the APC at the center is still battling for what some people call national acceptance. As if you look at the scorecard in some places, looking at the economic situation and other policies of the government, it's not really going down well with major stakeholders in the state. In some quarter, we just left Kano, where our guest was telling us how the presidency is actually portraying itself in a negative light as far as the northern community is concerned. How would this impact the election in the state? Owing to the fact that, yes, governorship election has to do with grassroots politics, but you won't outrightly take out the place of a political party as far as an election is concerned.
Well, I'll start from this basic assumption. Every politics is local. I go further. Every politics is personal. So for the voter in one state, we can theorize from here to heaven, high heavens. But eventually, what will determine how he votes is what his relationship with the candidate. What is his upline to the candidate? How accessible is the party to him? What has been his benefit or her benefit from association with social set of people over the years? Those are the basic things. And you see, with a lot of theory about the ruling party, yes, if the ruling party goes out and brings somebody who does not resonate with the people, the ruling party will fail woefully and will be compelled or forced to rig woefully too. And it will be so obvious that you have rigged. Yes, national policies have a way of impacting, but I say that at that point when people vote, a lot of sentiments go into it. Where is the candidate coming from? Is he my kinsman? Is he related to me by blood? Is the wife related to me by blood? Where was he when I had problems? What has been his commitments to health issues? Those basic things will play primary role, more important role. It is then that they will say, okay, what is their party doing? From the last interview, I saw the man you brought on saying a lot about the federal government. I also saw him patronizing the federal government. By the same token, trying to find a way to win Tinubu off the politics of cabinet, trying to assure him that if you take your hand off the politics of the emirship, you are likely going to win this place easily. That is how it works. So first and foremost, the local things, the local development, local realities, local contests, local competitions will play an important role. Then what happens at the national level will now play an important role. Yes, people will talk about the high cost of Gary, the high cost of prior to election. People will talk about it. A lot of people will go to the polls and vote according to the fact that, look, I don't want to continue. But majority are going to vote along the line of what judgments, what deductions they have made based on their sentiments, on their emotions, on their connections to the individuals and the party at the local level.
All right, I'm sure Tolu will have more questions from the Abuja Network studio.
Yeah, for someone like you who's been involved with activities in those states right there, when you look at the potentials of the state and the kind of leaders we have had in the past, and we are also hoping to have right there, do you think ONDO has been able to live up to their potential? You think?
We have not. We have not. That is the truth. We have been blessed with great leaders, I must confess. Ajashin was a straight arrow of the old school, diligent to work, dedicated to duty and to his people, frugal with resources. But the creativity that was needed to move us leap and bound was not there. Yet he excelled in his own little way. I mean, he excelled in his own little way, most created a lot of factories and they are built on the old Awolowo legacy. And we moved on, but we were still not where we had to be. Adefarati came, did his bit. He was diligent. Old man comes to work every 7:30. He's in office. He will not leave. He's not given to a lot of frivolities. But along the line, I mean, the political hawks got him involved in so many unsavory things, and it affected the end of his tenure. Agagu came in bright, brilliant, large on theory, large on research, large on ideas and projections, but I must confess, weak on implementation, and we didn't get too far. What really upended his regime was that there was a lot of carelessness around him and his people when the election to get him elected came was to be held. They obviously underrated the opposition and they lost. And seeing that they lost, a lot of things had to be done to make what was an obvious loss look like an obvious victory, such that the court had to be involved. In came Mimiko, bright, eloquent, charismatic, resonated with the people, has been around for so long. He knows almost everywhere and everybody. He did his best, did a lot about infant and maternal health, a lot about education, a lot about barn renewal, a lot about rural rejuvenation. He did a lot. I worked with him. It would seem as I've been unfair, one of my best. Then came Akeredolu. Akeredolu is a very good man. Good as in good. But you see, running government is not about being good. Any out of that, Akeredolu would have been a very, very good man if he had stayed as a lawyer, do his job. But as an administrator, he performed abysmally. And I said it with all sense of responsibility. Now, I must say that possibilities are not too savory. They are not too sweet. The contenders are not so outstanding, and that's how far we are. They're not so outstanding. I must say this with all sense of responsibility. Yes, we have a PhD holder among us, those contending. We have a lot of people with white results, and I'm not condemning people with white results, but I think that 21st century Ondo State ought not, by any stretch of logic or illogic, settle for people with white results at this time and age. But that is what we are stuck with.
When you talked about the fact that you are stuck with some of the candidates who are producing, who have white results and running for position of the governor of the state. When we talk about the capability of some of these candidates to deliver, when you look at it in the 70s and the 80s, when we look at the quality of candidates who were vying for offices compared to what we have right now, we will blame it on the fact that the good candidates fail to participate in politics, or the fact that the system keeps churning out candidates who are not good enough running for a major political position. Are we going to blame the system on that, or the fact that the good candidates are not interested in politics?
It's a combination of both. It's a combination of both. There are a lot of good people who do not want to participate in politics. And you see, society also has, in a way, stigmatized those who participate in politics as thieves. Prior to 1999, some of us who have a background in student unionism, human rights, in fact, the pro-democracy struggles, we told ourselves that we're not going to participate. We did all the work, but we said, look, it will soil our image. And it was a mistake, a fatal one at that. So we didn't participate quite early. And a lot of people who have no history of activism, of ideology, of basic relationship with humanity, took the space. And then we look at a lot of people whose only record is that they are connected with maybe the presidents and becoming governors elsewhere. But Ondo State was fortunate in the early stages. Yet, yes, we had people, they were educated. They had some level of integrity. They were responsible to, most of them, from Baba Jasin up to until quite recently, people who have pedigrees. But sadly, we're into an era where it's all about money now, capacity to win primaries. And the capacity to win primaries is about your capacity to maneuver the system in your favor. If it's an open primary, well, it all depends on what your party wants. Like we have in APC, the party is subject to manipulation. If it's a delegate one, it's also to be manipulated to suit. So, it is function of the reality of our society. Everything has been monetized. Everything has been reduced to naira and copper and your capacity to do it. And also, some good people have been stigmatized, blackmailed out of participation in politics. I tried to participate before to run for central district. When I was running, I knew I didn't have all the money but I wanted to make a statement that I am available, I am competent, I resonate with the people who have paid my dues, I've been with the people from day one, But I don't have the money to throw around. So I made it so clear in all my campaigns. And when the election came out and I lost, I didn't flinch on it because what I did was I only invested what I knew I could invest. I didn't take my hands into what I had to go to make myself live comfortable, relatively comfortable. I didn't borrow a dime to run. But now people are being forced to borrow to run for offices. They take bank loans to run for offices. And what it means is that the first thing they have to do is to pay off the loans when they come in. So self-aggrandizement, stealing, massive corruption becomes the order of the day until we make our electoral process more open, less susceptible to financial inducement and manipulation. We're going to be getting the quality of people that are worse running our states and our country. But once the situation is, once the policy is less dependent on money and inducement, more serious, more humane, more human, more dependable, more trustworthy people of integrity who participate in politics. But until then, here we are.
You have said right there. But I want to take your mind back to the late 70s when we had an early 80s, when we had the welfare issue in Ondo State, the rise of Omo winning the election. The people stood against that. The people came out en masse to challenge that the election was not the voting was not, the result was not the outcome of the voting. Now in Ondo State, we all suffer from so many challenges. We are also facing the issue about rising cost of inflation. No matter who you are, whether you are top there or down there, you must definitely feel the brunt of what is really happening right there. Do you think the awareness in Ondo people is there to be able to challenge the system? You talked about wanting to run for office, not having the necessary the financial capacity to be able to challenge some people who went to the extent of borrowing money from banks to run for these offices. Are the people in Ondo State not also feeling the brunt of it to say, let's stand up, like they did in the 1979 election, the welfare issue, where Mobile emerged as the governor of the state at that point in time? Don't you think the people should also be able to rise up like they did way back then?
Welfare in a way preceded the 1979, 1983 issue. But I understand what you're trying to say. The 1983 issue was the vintage Ondo person. The Ondo person do not like to be cheated openly in a brazen manner. That was what was on display in that manner. People saw that this was open robbery and they fought. But Ondo State is much more sophisticated. The people are much more sophisticated. On around 2007, there was what was perceived as some level of electoral malfeasance. The people did not burn houses. The people did not build anybody. In fact, when there was an attempt to go to the INEC office and destroy things, leaders of thought met and appealed openly to supporters never to do it. They went to courts, and the courts did its best, and eventually the issue was resolved in favor of one person or the other. So the new Ondo person is conscious of his rights. As always, the voter is aware of his realities. But circumstances, we mute this reality sometimes. These values will be muted by circumstances. A woman whose child have not paid his school fees of just 5,000 naira, and come election periods, he gets to be given 10,000 naira. He is likely to submit to inducements because, you see, the woman cares about that child. What else you say does not matter to her. So she's likely going to vote against her conscience for that immediate gratification. But that is how bad it is. If the electoral process were to be open, free, and fair, inducement will not happen. What do I mean? Inducement will be difficult when voting could be done in truly secret ballot way, or in the alternative, truly open ballot way. So either way, we must insist on the processes that will lead to more fairness, more freeness, quote unquote, of the process, more dependability of the process. confidence in the process, when people believe that the process will throw out the best, irrespective of how well you try to maneuver, more and more people will participate. People will now be voted in account of their pedigree, competence, capacity, capabilities, and less on the posts that they hold. So it's a function of what we do with our larger society. It's like when people are criminals and you reward them with chieftaincy titles, you reward them with political appointments. More people will not want to be criminals. But when people commit crimes, face the penalty for their crimes, less and less people want to go the way of committing crimes. That's how it works.
All right, walk us through now. What are we expecting from media professionals like you, who are also key actors as far as the election is concerned, as we begin to call it a wrap?
Well, my expectation of the media professionals is that, one, we should be objective as much as possible. There is subjectivity in objectivity, but let us be objective. You cannot paper over some obvious weaknesses of the candidate because you have been reached out to. When a person is incompetent, what you ought to do is to let the people see. You need not repeat that he's incompetent, but do not mask his incompetence in flowery prose and write-ups. Do not mask incompetence in over-edited media presentations. Do not mark incompetence in taking the man away from the media. I hope, for instance, at a time will come when debates will be legislated in this country, that levels of debate must hold where every aspirant must be subjected to debates with other aspirants and interactions with the populace. The fact that people can contest election without interacting with the people is one of the things that is making the kind of leaders we elect possible. If people have had interactions with you for a period of 3 months, look at ONDO State now. We are in June, July, August, September. If there is a lot of interaction, a lot of relationship between the people through the media, they will see through the facade, they will see the cover-ups, they will see through the lies, and they will make the right decision. But when all we do is keep the candidates away from the people, which the media is doing, then we won't get what we do, and we all pay the price. The hospitals does not recognize who is the son of a governor, or who is the daughter of a journalist, or the daughter of a farmer. When there are no facilities to get there, you won't get facilities. You get to private hospitals because they have resources, but you will not get the competent hands to handle you. So we pay the price for every of our indiscretion in making political choices, for every of the inducements we do, for every covered up we do. We expose ourselves, our children, our future to incompetence, to incapacity, and to failures. We should not be. The media must stand up to provide a level playing ground for all and expose aspirants to the people. Let them be. I'm not saying you should go out of your way to start doing. Yes, there's nothing wrong with doing investigative journalism, but report them as they are. Put the mic before them without letting them know you are going to meet them. And if you are going to do recording that will be edited, ask follow-up questions that will dig up facts, not necessarily deaths, that will show the man what does he know about what he's talking about. That is what the media should do. Be more open. Let us provide access to all aspirants, irrespective of their posts. Because I know, for instance, we want to have interviews on some, you have to pay through your notice. I mean, I'm not paying a dime for this. I'm not aspiring though. And this is good. But let us make the platforms open to the aspirants, to the candidates, so that people will know that there is strength in each of these individuals and be able to know the weaknesses in each of those individuals. That is the duty we owe our society. That is the duty we owe our future as members of the Fortran.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you for taking time to be on the show. And of course, we'd like to have you again so that we can extend the front line as far as ONDO State is concerned.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, so that was Mr. Eni Akinshola, media professional, public affairs analyst, perception manager, and lead publicist at Agogo Publishers Limited, all the way from Ondo State. We appreciate you.